It is a couple minutes past 4 o'clock. You are tuned to 96.3 FM WLCN and the 4 p.m. 411. I've been off for a couple weeks, so apparently I've forgotten how things work here, but we'll get it straightened out. My name is Loyd Kirby. I am the marketing manager here at WLCN, and of course we invite your questions or comments, 217-648-5510, or send us an email at 4pm411 at WLCNonline.com. It is Tuesday, March 7th, which is the first Tuesday of the month, so our guest is, of course, Mayor Tracy Welch of Lincoln. So, Mayor, thank you for joining us today.
Yep, thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. And I thought, since I've had a couple weeks off here, I thought I'd kind of retool the format a little bit. So I want to start out with a question, which I'll ask you to answer toward the end of the show, but maybe if some listeners have some ideas, they can call in with their answer.
Okay.
Unless you've been under a rock, obviously, most people I would think in the area know that the Lincoln Community High School Lady Railers appeared at the state tournament. The basketball team took second against a tough Nazareth Academy team. And I was thinking during the Super Bowls, the mayors of the opposing cities, like Kansas City versus Philadelphia this year, often have sort of a friendly wager where like they'll do something representative of their city and wager it against the other mayor. For example, I think with Philadelphia and Kansas City, it was the mayor of Philadelphia bet X number of pounds of cheesesteaks that he would pay up if Philadelphia lost, and Kansas City's mayor bet like some sort of KC barbecue if Kansas City would lose. So I was wondering, as mayor, if you were called by I think it's Franklin Park where Nazareth Academy is, if the mayor or village president or whatever did a friendly wager with you, what would you wager to represent the town of Lincoln or on behalf of Lincoln? So I know I'm catching off.
Hold my answer?
Yeah, hold your answer till toward the end of the show. I came up with one myself, but again, if any listeners have any ideas, 217-648-5510. We'll repeat that question a few times, and then toward the end of the half hour, we'll come back to it. So, Mr. Mayor, you're fresh off a meeting, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, we had a meeting last night.
All right, and took care of some business items then, I believe.
Yeah, it was a pretty quick meeting last night, actually. We took care of some economic development requests. That's that program that we have to help commercial properties throughout the city. Mm-hmm. And we had 3 more requests come through, and I'm glad to see that program continue. The Speedway. Mm-hmm. So every year we have Mr. Mackey from Speedway come in and talk with us, and he did last week during the committee of the whole, and we approved their schedule this week, and no issues with that. I think we got a great relationship. Now, Alderman Bateman did propose a question at the end of the meeting, which we're going to bring that back for another discussion, but actually he brought it up during the agenda item. Okay. But it was, the track sometimes goes a little bit over,
right?
And they have a lot of really big events take place later in the fall.
Sure.
And so the question just was raised, can we extend those bigger races by another 30 minutes? Mm-hmm. And it seems like the council's receptive to that, so we're going to get the specific dates Mr. Mackey wants, bring it back to the council, and discuss and hopefully get those approved.
Okay. Yeah, my wife and I live probably, I don't know, within a mile of the track or so. So the evenings when the races are running, if we're outside or have the windows open, we can definitely hear it. So yeah. I'm sure the folks who are closer to that have some feelings about that as well. But it's an issue where it brings people to Lincoln. People who are coming to the races obviously are buying tickets to the races, but they're also hopefully eating dinner at a restaurant and getting fuel in their vehicles while they're here and doing other kinds of things.
Yep.
And, the idea of a rising tide raises all ships. Hopefully that's what's going on with the racing here in Lincoln.
Yeah, it is. You nailed it. It's a economic development engine. It helps the community a lot. They bring in a lot of dollars. They bring in some pretty big names in racing throughout the area. Tony Stewart and Kenny Wallace and individuals such as that not only do like NASCAR events, but they do dirt track racing, and so they come in and bring a following, and we're trying to find that fine balance. I think over the years we're close to giving them the time they need to run without really impeding on the quiet hours, I think, that the neighbors would like to see. So hopefully the new request that comes in will be well received. But if not, then we'd love to hear that feedback.
Were there any sort of major changes to the schedule, or is it pretty much similar to the years past as far as start dates and end dates?
Yeah, it's pretty similar. I mean, the start dates, I brought the schedule because I wasn't sure if you'd ask, but I mean, like, on Sundays they go noon to 4, things of that nature. But I think what's of more importance to people is, when will these things stop? At what time of the night?
Right.
And so we went back and looked at the agreement, and it is Friday and Saturday night. They can go until 11 o'clock, but then every other day of the week, if they're racing, they have to be done by 10:30.
Okay.
And then many years ago, they were granted a 90-minute allowance for overages. They don't usually go over too much, so that's been the schedule they've kept.
So when you say 90-minute allowance, is that like they get a total of 90 minutes to go over in all their races?
For the entire racing year.
So if they go 5 minutes here and 10 minutes here and whatever the rest is, 75 minutes, then that's 90 minutes?
And that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not 90 minutes per race or anything like that?
Nope. Right. 90 minutes collectively over the season. And I don't believe they've come close to using that 90 minutes in the last several years. So they're very conscious of that. They want to be good partners with the community, too, just as much as we want them to be here and help drive the community.
Sure.
They want to be able to stick around, so they work with us.
Okay. You mentioned there were a few different economic development issues that were voted on or that were looked at.
Yeah, that structural improvement grant program that we have, the $7,500 grants, as they're known as, they're for commercial properties, not just in downtown, but throughout all of Lincoln. Okay. And there was a few of those that came before the council last night, and they had already gone through the commission for approval, got the approval they needed, so the council looked at them, and they voted on those unanimously to approve them. And
if there happen to be business owners out there who are interested in such a, applying for such a grant or learning more information, who would they contact to seek more information about that?
It's on the city website under services and TIF, I believe. If not, it's under economic development. But Ashley Matelko, our administrative assistant up at City Hall, she is the facilitator for a lot of the meetings and the paperwork, and she manages a lot of that for us. So she can get you all the forms that you'd like to know. There's 2 different grants. There's an economic structural improvement that's meant for structural things to do with the buildings, and then there's a facade grant that's meant for the front-facing portion of your building. And so those are programs that are still active, and we continue to promote those.
Okay, very good. Once again, we've got Mayor Tracy Welch here for the next 19 or 20 minutes. 217-648-5510 if you have a question or comment. Also, you can send us an email, 4pm411@wlcnonline.com. Once again, the question that we're seeking answers to, kind of like the mayors of the Super Bowl, we asked Mayor Welch if he was betting against the mayor of Franklin Park, where Nazareth Academy is located, the opponents of the Lincoln Lady Railers in the state tournament game. What would he bet against that mayor that would be representative of Lincoln? So ponder that. If you have any thoughts, give us a call. Otherwise, we will be back in a couple minutes. 411 with Mayor Tracy Welch. Once again, if you have questions or comments, 217-648-5510, the number to call. We've been talking about the most recent city council meeting and city council business. We talked about some of the grants that were approved. In addition, there was some amendments, or I'm not sure what the correct word is, changing of language or clarification as far as the rules regarding use of golf carts, I believe.
Yeah, so when we put the golf cart ordinance into place, we did the best we could at the time, and we were working within some restraints with the state because Lincoln is situated where we have state routes running through the center of it. Right. What makes it doesn't make it just challenging for golf carts, but when you're scheduling 5Ks or races or things like that, getting signage and things is challenging. So after we got the golf cart thing in place, and I think we maybe got 30 plus applicants that are out there using them, there were still some people that couldn't get into town. For instance, people out at the Elks. They couldn't drive down Fifth Street to get into town, And so that was creating some challenges. People that lived in Mayfair couldn't drive down Kickapoo to get in town. There was no way for them to get in.
Right.
Campus View Drive was another one. So worked with the state, the attorney did, and we beefed up the language a little bit. Another change we made was to make it more consistent with an Illinois state driver's license in a vehicle. And so it used to be 18 and older, and now it's 16 and older.
Okay.
So I think there's still a couple things that we need to get fixed on that one, but we're just improving it as we go.
Sure. So regarding those areas like Mayfair and Campus View Drive that were not able to access the city, this recent action, did that make them able to access the city, or?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah. So now you can ride down that state route, down Kickapoo Street if you live in Mayfair out there to get into town, or even out by the airport road. There's some people that live out at Campus View Drive. They can take that short jog in on Route 10 to get them onto Keokuk. Now, we want them to get off of these main thoroughfares as soon as they can.
Sure.
But it gives them that flexibility. And then people that live at the lakes, Fifth Street Road, it's not in great condition. We're working on it, everybody from the past 25 years knows. We are taking action on that one. But it gives them a way to get in, because some people were actually getting a little creative out there to get into town, and it just created some other issues. So
Sure.
It just makes it safer for everybody.
Okay. Once again, 217-648-5510, the number to call. If you have questions of Mayor Welch, or shoot us an email at 4pm411@wlcnonline.com. Once again, the question we're going to be posing to the mayor here, or get his answer, his response on, the Super Bowl, mayors of the Super Bowl cities often have a friendly wager between their cities for the Super Bowl. And the example I used was Kansas City versus Philadelphia. Mayor of Philly bet, I think it was a certain amount of pounds of cheesesteaks. Kansas City mayor bet a certain amount of barbecue. And so we're asking Mayor Welch if he had a wager with the mayor of Nazareth, the city in which Nazareth Academy is located. What would he wager to sort of represent Lincoln, much like the Philly cheesesteak or the Kansas City barbecue? So we'll talk about that at the end of the half hour here. Spring is in the air. I mean, it's warmer, although I hear it's not going to last too awfully long.
Yep.
I believe there's been some, I noticed on Facebook there was some clarification that although the dog park the weather is turning nice, and the dog park folks may be wanting to utilize that they should not do that at this time. Yeah,
so the fence is up, and there's a concrete pad that allows you to walk in and pick which side you want to go to. But we had to, unfortunately, put some locks on those gates for now. There's a lot of things we want to get done out there before it's open to the public. And if the public goes in and they do more damage to the area, that just delays our ability to open. We've got a water fountain we want to put in there, benches, a lot of signage that we bought. We want to do some prep work to the grass area. So we really want it to be nice and have a nice grand opening. So unfortunately, we've had to ask people to wait, but they'll only have to wait until like the first week of May. We're shooting for a May 1st date, but it's tentative.
Sure. And of course, depending on weather and depending on those installations, how those things go, that can impact that. And the dog park, of course, located on the property that was formerly the Abraham Lincoln Memorial Hospital on, is that 8th Street?
The lots,
7th Street?
Yeah, most people know it as the 8th Street lot, but the park sits on the back side of it on 7th Street.
Okay.
Yep.
And has there been discussion yet as far as once the park is open, like, is it just open 24 hours, or is it sunrise to sunset, or how will it operate?
Yeah, sunrise to sunset. We're going to put the same rules in as our other parks in the city. We're going to start out that way, but some of the things we'd like to add some lighting out there, put some trees back on the property, things of that nature. And we look at this as just the start of growing that property. It's sat vacant since the hospital actually tore it down and opened up in their new location. And,
right.
We're way past time to get something going out there.
All right, so that's something to look forward to. We are just at about our 20 minutes past the hour break, so we'll go ahead and do that once again. If you have questions or comments for the mayor, you got about 10 more minutes. 217-648-5510, the number to call, and we'll be talking more with Mayor Welch right after this. And we are back on the 4 p.m. 411 with Mayor Tracy Welch. And like I said before the break, 217-648-5510, the number to call if you have questions or comments of Mayor Welch. I noticed that you showed up today in your Lincoln Railer gear. So and we, of course, at WLCN personally thank you for helping sponsor our broadcasts. You told me you attended the games. I think everyone would say the team, although it wasn't the finish we wanted, certainly represented the school and the town and everyone just with class and as well as we could ever expect.
I couldn't agree more. We did go to the games, the regionals, the sectionals, and state, and the best way I could describe it, I kept saying it the whole time, was that team of girls is magic. They know where each other's going to be. They're great at passing the ball. They're great at scoring, and not only that, they have class on and off the court, and they represent themselves, the school, and the community well. And I as the mayor of Lincoln, I couldn't be more proud of how well they did.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a little plug on behalf of the program, they will be having a fundraiser this coming Monday, the 13th, I believe is the date, starting at 6 p.m. out at Roy S. Anderson Gymnasium. If you're watching YouTube, obviously you can see the graphic on the screen, but it is being touted as the Alumni Showdown, as there will be players from the past competing in several competitions. There will be the back gym, as I understand it, is going to be set up as sort of an homage to Lady Railer basketball with pictures and articles and scrapbooks and other memorabilia. And then, in addition to that, the current team will be available to sign autographs at some point. So, should be a good evening of Lady Railer basketball. 100% of the proceeds going to sponsor the Lady Railer program. So, So, one other bit of city business. You mentioned it to me off air, as far as we talked in the past few shows about the water bill. Or not the water bill, the sewage bill issue.
Oh, the discount?
The discount issue that folks there was a window of opportunity for folks to prepay and receive a discount. You mentioned that the numbers were pretty good on that.
Yeah, almost 900 households took advantage of that, which was pretty remarkable in a community of 4,500 households.
Right.
Collectively, that action on behalf of the city saved the taxpayers, I think the number is $43,000 and some change across their bills. And I'm happy that the city was able to do that for the residents. I have to be honest, I was a skeptic when we reinstated that program. I knew we'd get people, but I didn't know that many people would take advantage of it. So couldn't be more happy.
And so with that program, then, if someone missed the window for that opportunity to receive the discount by prepaying, will that then be offered again next year, or does the council have to take up that issue and make a decision about whether it will do that again?
Yeah, it was reinstated, the ordinance was.
Okay.
So it'll be available next year, and typically it'll be in the first couple weeks of February. I think the cutoff this year was February 20th. But again, we preach this all the time, and we continue to preach it, but your water bill, or your sewer bill, is based on your water consumption. So as you go into October, November, and December, watch how much water you use, because that determines what your sewer bill is.
Sure. And of course, if you have family coming for the holidays or traveling away for the holidays, that will impact that number. So
absolutely
good number, or good piece of advice there. Once again, just a couple minutes left. 217-648-5510, asking Mayor Welch what would be his gift or his item that he would wager the mayor or village president, I'm not sure what their government format is, of Franklin Park, had he taken part in one of those friendly wagers like the mayors of the Super Bowl cities do. What would he bet that would represent Lincoln? So got just a few minutes here. If anyone has any thoughts on that, or you can send us an email, 4pm411 at WLCNonline.com. what else is going on in the city?
Melrose Park's about ready to open up.
Okay. Yeah, we talked about before the cold weather hit that there were updates being made to several of the parks in the city, and it was sort of being done on a rotating base, or do one park and then another and then another, rather than try and build everything up at once. With the warmer weather approaching, what is the status of that? You say Melrose Park is
we're just waiting to get in the mulch and the stuff underneath the equipment to keep the people that use the park safe. So once we get that in, Melrose is ready to go. Then we'll go on to Ray White, Allison Park, and Postville. So we're already planning for those other ones. So super excited about that. Another thing that I think is worth mentioning, and we did a moment of silence for Bob Rollins at the beginning of our council meeting last week, but this Friday there will be a procession for him, and so if you see a lot of police activity, fire activity, they're doing escorts for Bob and his family and his funeral. So if you could, be mindful of that, be polite, and give them the space they need.
Sure. And that takes place next Friday? Or this coming Friday?
I think it's this coming Friday.
This coming Friday, so the 10th, I guess that would be. All right. And we're approaching the bottom of the hour, so time for the big reveal. For those who maybe are tuning in late, the mayors of the Super Bowl cities typically have a friendly wager with one another about if their team wins, what will the other mayor give them in this wager. So the example, once again, Philadelphia versus Kansas City in the Super Bowl. The Philly mayor, I believe, wagered cheesesteaks versus the Kansas City mayor, who wagered barbecue. My hard-hitting question to you, Mr. Mayor, if you were wagering the mayor of Franklin Park, where Nazareth Academy is located, what would you wager that would represent the city of Lincoln?
Well, I'm going to give you two parts.
Okay.
The first one is obviously because the town was christened by Abraham Lincoln with watermelon.
Right.
So we'd load a cart of watermelons up and take them down.
Okay.
Right. But we also would do Gazzardos. For me, that's what I would say, and my wife would kill me if I didn't say their prime rib, but anything that you order from there is remarkable. And the only reason I say that is because I spend time in Bloomington and other surrounding towns, and I have conversations with people, and they're always like, what's that Italian place that's on the square? So Gazzardos.
Okay, and that's certainly a fair
What was your answer?
There is no wrong answer, so
what would you have said?
I would have gone with Abe's caramel corn, because the Abe and the Lincoln.
Abe's caramel corn is delicious as well.
Well, you could do Gazzardos, and then you could have Abe's caramel corn as a dessert.
Exactly. We get them downtown.
Like we said, there's no wrong answer. So
we could treat them to a day downtown.
All right. Well, next year when the Lady Railers are back in the state finals,
absolutely,
we'll consider that. So
okay, we'll have that chat.
Absolutely. So the time is 4:30. So time for us to bring the 4 p.m. 411 to a close. Mayor Welch, thank you for joining us once again. We'll see you in 4 weeks, I guess. Yeah. So, all right, very good. Thanks. This has been the 4 p.m. 411. Our guest has been Mayor Tracy Welch. We'll invite you to tune in tomorrow morning to Viewpoint with Bill Gossett, when our guests will be representatives from the Humane Society of Logan County, and that takes place from 8:15 until 9. Until then, this has been the 4 p.m. 411, and thank you for listening.